see what's new on the Burlington waterfront. Hey, now it's happening at the waterfront on Lake Champlain. Whatever the weather, there's so much to do on the new waterfront, the Burlington waterfront.
Welcome to On the Waterfront with Melinda Moulton. I am your host, Melinda Moulton, and today my guest is Suzanne Johnson, who is the Executive Director of Sail Beyond Cancer, which is a new organization that she's just started. And I've known Suzanne since the year 2006, when she was the owner of Tilly's Restaurant in Lower Church Street. And it was one of the first restaurants that offered gluten-free food. And I fell in love with Suzanne. I fell in love with her food. And now I'm very much in love with her organization. And I want to share with all of my viewers out there the great work that she's doing to bring healing to people who have cancer. So Suzanne Johnson, thank you for being on my show.
Thank you so much for having me, my dear friend Melinda. It's so great to see you. It really, really is.
Thank you. So we only have a half an hour, and I know there's a lot that we want to talk about. So what I'd like to start with is to talk a little bit about you, where you grew up, what brought you to this work, who was an inspiration to you to want to do service work, because the work that you've done most of your life has been to serve other people, whether it was in the food industry or through your nonprofits that you've started and that you've run. And so could you share a little bit of that with my viewers?
Thank you so much. So I grew up, Melinda, in Greenwich, Connecticut, out in the country. Actually, I shared that with you this morning. Grew up out in the woods of Greenwich, which is unusual. And so I grew up in a family. We sailed, and we were skiers, and we were outdoor people. So I really grew up on big boats all my life. I do not remember not being on a boat ever. And so, it's just sort of in my soul. And so to answer your question about that, I came up here with my ex-husband 25 years ago. And you're right, I have been in the service industry for also most of my life in one way or another. I was a real estate agent for a long, long time, and opened up Tilly's. And then I found a lump in my chest after I sold Tilly's and went through cancer myself. And so, what inspired me after coming out of all the treatment, after being completely bald, I knew in my heart that I wanted to do something that really connected with so many people in our community. Because I'd met so many people with the restaurant industry and real estate, but especially Tilly's, that it just felt a compelling desire deep inside to do something that really made a difference. I grew up and very involved in our community church. And so my mom is always very much a giver of her soul all the way up until, God bless her, at 93 years old, always thinking of other people. So I had this amazing model in her, and then an amazing model as an entrepreneur, amazing sailor. And he's a guy that just visionary, as many people would say. And I think I have a combination of both of those spirits in me every day. I feel them talking to me all the time, especially when I'm not sailing exactly correctly. I can definitely feel him saying, "Oh, Susie, you're pointing too high," So anyway, so as I was coming out of chemo and everything, I think I might have shared that with you, I was talking to Kathy Macbeth up at the hospital, who is a beautiful soul in herself. And she's just a special person, having gone through cancer twice herself. And she has this wonderful gift to be able to help people re-enter, into the world of work. And I shared with her all sorts of things I've done. And she said, anything you touch seems to blossom. And I think you really should consider combining your love of sailing and the fact that you just went through all this. And, there's cancers everywhere. I think if you should start a nonprofit, just do it. And so that's kind of how it all started. And I always remind her when I see her in the public, and I'm like, it's because of you. You're the one. But, I took that little seed and it just grew, in itself and in in ways that I could never possibly have made it happen. You know, I just feel.
So that's such a testimony to your friend, that she really gave you the inspiration, because and your parents have had a big impact on you. And when you meet someone like you, Suzanne Johnson, who, by the way, is executive director and founder of SailBeyondCancer.org. If you'd like to go to their website, it's www.SailBeyondCancerVT.org. Please do visit it, and it'd be wonderful. You can make a donation to this great organization for the work that Suzanne is doing. But it's so interesting to hear that it was one person after you were healing from your cancer experience who gave you the idea to bring the love of your sailing and your fight with cancer and bring them together. So talk to me a little bit about how that merged into the vision that you had to create your organization.
Well, I knew, you know, for me, Melinda, when I was going through the treatments, you know, I definitely went out sailing and hopped on as many boats as I could. At this time, I didn't have my own sailboat at that present point in my life. And so I remember just the joy again, always, of just casting off the lines and being out there. And so it immediately, when she said that to me, I was like, oh gosh, of course. And at the same time, I also felt it was really important to be clear about what I wanted to do with this, this meaning sailing in particular, and how can the joy and magic of sailing connect with people who are dealing with cancer, or you know, being challenged by cancer, I should say. So it quickly, over the next 6 months, really became, as I talked to more and more people, it became clear to me that I really wanted to focus on the people who were just getting that word, you know, that your biopsy is malignant, and you have this uncharted territory in front of you. I mean, this whole thing is going to happen. Or anybody going through, you know, having surgery or going through radiation, any aspect of the treatments that one goes through with cancer. And those people who are also saying, the hell with treatments, you know, I don't want to live life, the rest of my life, feeling like icky, you know, in hospice. So that became clear to me pretty quickly that those are the people I really wanted to concentrate on, because that's where I was when I was involved, right? And so I knew the value of being able to cast off the lines for those people specifically was going to be very impactful, right? And mind you, we're not talking like putting a lot of sail up and tipping the boat or heeling the boat over to scare people, because they don't need to be any more scared than they already are, you know. But it was more of just allowing the wind to power the vessel. So it was, you know, as soon as we can turn off that engine and you know, let the wind fill the sails, and you just feel the energy of Mother Nature, really, and bringing you away from all that stress ashore. You know, it's just every second you're moving forward, you're leaving the other stuff behind. And there's just so much magic that happens out there that just even with that, as you're dealing with your cancer, you know, and then what happened was a really interesting thing is that it became not just about that person, but their loved ones, because these sails are private sails with the person dealing with this, the patient. We don't call them patients, I don't like that name. Patient plus their core group. So it became, you know, just as important for the caregivers and the loved ones, because they're not going through the treatments, but they might as well be, right?
So let's step back just a minute. Let's just step back a little bit to the mission of so you started your organization, Sail Beyond Cancer VT.org. And so what is the mission? Simply, what is the mission of your organization?
The mission has been, and always has been, since you know, we started this, is honoring those who are being challenged by cancer by harnessing the healing powers of wind, water, and sail. So that is really what we do.
So, so we're going to talk a little bit about the process But what is it? I'm assuming that you take people out for this experience who aren't sailors, who have never been on the water.
Absolutely. It's actually really pretty interesting, Melinda. You know, I mean, you've lived here for a long time, and now I have too. And it's always amazes me how many people that we get out there who grew up here all their lives and they've never been on the boat. They've never seen Burlington from the water. They're just like, oh my God. And look, you can see Mount Mansfield. You know, it is just so fun to watch their expressions. And again, you know, every second you're away, it's just, you have a bigger vision, right? So it is just so magical, you know, it really is.
So let's talk a little bit about, and the purpose really is, it's in your name.
Yes.
Right? It's Sail Beyond Cancer. So the purpose is to take cancer patients out sailing so that for a moment in their life, they can let their fear go out with the wind and allow them to have a moment of feeling free. And can you?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, and it's very interesting. I have a wonderful little story, many stories, of course. But one in particular really hits home, and this is a friend who is currently here in our community and being challenged with stage 4. So she'll never, ever not have cancer. And we went on a great sail. She brought her girlfriends out and had a great time, wonderful time. And we came back to the dock and everybody left, and she turned to me, gave me a big hug and started crying. And she said, do you realize that these 3 hours, I was, you know, I'll say her name, you know, Jody. I was Jody. I wasn't Jody with cancer. I was Jody. I was cancer free for 3 hours. And I will never, you know this, I will never be cancer free ever. And just having those 3 hours, feeling completely normal, and my girlfriends, and, you know, it was just such an amazing experience that it is beyond words. So, you know.
Wow, what a great story. So let's talk about the process. So I have you now on my screen. You're going to be on channel 17, and we're going to have quite a few of our community are going to see this video and learn about Sail Beyond Cancer, your organization. So the website is www.sailbeyondcancervt.org. I encourage all of our viewers to visit the website. I'm going to sneeze here. I'm perfectly fine. By myself, I've got my mask, which, by the way, to my viewers out there, I want to remind everybody that COVID is really raging in Vermont right now. And you'll be seeing this in the next few weeks. So I want you all to wear your mask. I don't care who you've been listening to on the news or whatever. You have to wear your mask everywhere you go. If you go to the gas station, you're going to fill up your car, wear your mask. You can go in the store. You know, I filled up my car today. People weren't wearing their masks. Wear your mask. Stay 6 feet apart. Don't go anywhere if you don't have to until we can bring this down, which we will in Vermont. But the process of I want to go back to the process of your organization. So let's say there's a viewer out there who has a family member or they themselves are suffering from cancer. What's the process for them to get involved in your organization?
Well, okay, there's a couple of things I want to go back just a little bit, and that is that our organization really is based with boats that are being donated. They're donated to us. So we use these vessels 7 days a week, 3 times a day. So that's an important, point to make out to you, because that'll help explain how it works. We have used other people's vessels. This past summer we did that with COVID, and that's wonderful. We're very appreciative. But really, it's the best for us to be able to have our signature vessel, 40-foot vessel or so. And the reason for that is that we have a lot of volunteer captains and crew who have been through cancer. So it's a really well-oiled machine. We know what we're doing. With that said, anybody who is themselves either just getting this word, right, had that, going through radiation, chemo, surgery, respite, or hospice, or living with cancer. There's a lot of people everywhere. We can't see so much now because we're in COVID, but so many people are taking chemo pills every day, and they look completely normal on the outside. So they're like
taking pills for their cancer. So yes, they have cancer. So you have to be extremely careful right now. Well, you don't take people out in cold weather.
No.
So your operation starts in the spring. It runs through the fall.
That's right.
But this spring and summer and fall, you had to be extremely careful because the folks that your clients were compromised. right?
Absolutely, yes. And I can go into that too.
You don't have to get into all that detail. I'm sure.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. I mean, one thing I do like to say is that what we're all experiencing right now with COVID, every one of us, this is exactly what cancer patients do every single day that they go through their chemo treatments, and this is exactly what. So imagine what you're feeling now.
Explain that to me. Is that
so?
If they get sick and they have cancer, that getting sick could compromise?
Absolutely. Well, I was trying to say that anybody,
so without COVID, they live in this isolated world of trying to stay safe.
That's exactly right. So what we're experiencing is exactly what someone who is in treatment experiences anyway without COVID. And now you add COVID to it, it's just kind of a double whammy. So anyway, so what happens is anybody going through cancer, they can go to our website, and when you get there, you'll see a little nominate button up in the top left-hand corner. Click that. We have 2 locations, one in Burlington, Vermont, that's its own 501c3 nonprofit here. Then we have one in the North Shore of Massachusetts. So if you have friends or family or know somebody down there, you can just nominate them. And the great thing is that you don't have to even tell them, and you don't have to try to explain it, because we call these people and we share with them what it's like, so that, they can have all their questions and they can ask us, and you can nominate yourself, and you can nominate, I can't say the word, anonymously. So if you see somebody, your neighbor, or it's a gift that you can give someone, and they may not even know that it's you, and they're just thrilled to get out there.
So they may never know who it is.
They may never know. Exactly.
So to my viewers out there, if you know of someone that you would like to nominate to receive this extraordinary gift of a 3-hour sail, you can go to the website, which is www.sailbeyondcancervt.org. And up in the right-hand corner, there's a nominate button, and you can nominate yourself or a family member or your neighbor, and then the organization Sail Beyond Cancer will contact them, and you can do it anonymously, or you can let them know that you've done that. Or you can even ask somebody, would you like me to nominate you for this sale? So that's the way that it's done. And I would assume, since it's a nonprofit, that to support this organization, you need to raise money. And so I want to encourage all my viewers who are inspired by this incredible work that Suzanne Johnson is doing with Sail Beyond Cancer, that when you're on the website, that you do click the donate button and make a donation. No donation is too small. Now, if you want to talk to somebody about this, I also have a phone number that I can give you. It's 802-825-9463. And you can reach Suzanne, and she can explain more to you about Sail Beyond Cancer. Talk to me about, you talk a little bit about the surrounding community and what it does for the surrounding community, not just the person that you're taking out on the boat. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, there's 2 things I wanted to share. One is that often we will have people who are in hospice who, when they're nominated, they are all. Well, I had a guy named Frank, good example. Called him up. You get to go sailing, Frank, and he said, I'm kind of done with it about having it about me, but. And I said, well, think of it this way. This is a great opportunity for you to say thank you to all of your loved ones while you're here, and make memories outside. We'll get you out of the respite house. We'll get you on the boat, pop your butt on the cockpit, and you don't have to move, right? So it's this experience for the patient, but it's also a wonderful way to say thank you and give back. So the
caretakers go on the sail. How many people can somebody bring on the sail with them?
On a typical summer, without COVID, it's 8 passengers, and they're private sail. I always like to share that with people, because they don't necessarily hear that. This is a private sail. This is, and it's a free sail that is, like you said, supported by individual donations and family foundations, some corporate grants. But
so this is free. I also want to make it clear to my viewers that if you nominate someone, this gift of this organization is free. It does not cost anybody any money.
It's pretty wild.
So
the other way it really is amazing, Linda, is that it helps get our community together. And that's what's great about having a dedicated vessel, is that we have 18 captains with Sail Beyond Cancer, and they are all volunteer captains. All of them, everybody's volunteer. And they've all been touched by cancer. So we had this wonderful opportunity to really engage our community, and people want to help in any way they can. It's not always financial, right? So people want to give of their spirit. They want to give of their talent. Maybe it's sailing, maybe it's not sailing, and that's great.
So let's bring this up to our viewers. If anyone out there would like to volunteer for Sail Beyond Cancer, you can contact Suzanne Johnson by going to the website, www.sailbeyondcancervt.org, or give Suzanne a call at 802-825-9463. If you want to volunteer, or if you're a sailor and you want to take people out on the sail, great. That's another way people can be engaged.
Thank you, Melinda. You know, and a great way too is just to help get the word out of what we are and who we are, and that we're here to stay in this beautiful community. There's a lot of people out there with cancer, all ages too, by the way. You know, we've taken little squirts out, like 2-year-olds out, all the way up to 92. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what age, what type of cancer.
So what do you do in the winter? What does the organization do in the wintertime when you're not sailing?
Well, you know, it's funny. You and I just touched a little bit earlier on today about theater, and I was just sharing this with another donor yesterday. This is like a theater production, right? So you know how much work goes behind the scenes to finally get out there to production. Every sail is essentially its own little theater production. So there's a tremendous amount of training, updating all our training, and we have COVID training that we do. And of course, fundraising is a big one, and just explaining and sharing with the world that this is here. This is here for people who are going through cancer all over Vermont and really New England. But of course, this past year, just Vermont. We just kept it within the state for COVID reasons. But yeah.
How many people do you think you've served in your lifetime with this organization?
Oh, almost about 2,000. It was about 1,800 as of a year ago. So yeah, it's like I said, we're not at capacity either. I mean, 2,000.
How many people do you think you can do in the summertime?
Oh, probably 800 to 1,000.
800?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of sailing. I mean, so do you go out like 2 or 3 times a day?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you're on the water almost full time, spring, summer, and fall.
Well, again, you think about it, we have 18 captains, and we have probably 30 crew or so. And these are people that have been vetted and trained on shore to make sure.
Volunteers. You don't pay them.
Yeah, exactly. They're all volunteers. But it's one thing to send people out sailing, but it's a lot different, Melinda, to be sitting next to somebody who has a week and a half to live, right? And you know that, they know that. And how do you interact and make their experience the most joyful experience and make them feel comfortable, and you feel comfortable and good.
So you deal with real terminal patients. I don't think we made that clear in this interview, so I think it's important to talk about that. What do you
all part, absolutely.
So you're taking out people who know that they might have a week or 2 to live. Absolutely.
As a matter of fact, you know, in our lovely state of Vermont, you know, with Death with Dignity, the Walters are dear friends of mine, and so one of our lovely people and friends over at Wake Robin 2 years ago, she knew she was going to leave us on Tuesday. So I said, let's go sailing. And she said, let me check my schedule. She said, yeah, let's do it. I can do it. So we brought a bunch of people out. And so we knew at that very moment, through that entire sail, she would be leaving us on Tuesday. But it's just
how do you that takes, I mean, I'm very emotional about this, but that takes so much resolve, and there's something very courageous about that, to be able to be in that moment. And how do you do it? What is that? What is that you have inside of you
that's the same spirit that drove me to start this whole thing, you know, 7 years ago, this whole nonprofit with the same mission. You know, Melinda, some people that say to me, how do you do it? Just like you asked me, it's really about a gift that we're giving them. And it is a positive thing. We cannot change people's physical direction and where they're going with their life, with their disease.
What comes back to you? What comes back to you? what comes back to you in that moment when you're out on your sailboat for 3 hours with someone who knows that in a week they're going to be leaving this earth, and they're in the middle of this lake looking at the state that they love, and knowing that in a week they're going to be leaving? What is it that comes back to you? What comes to you?
Gratitude, and a reminder of being thankful for every moment of every single day. And when these people ask me to sit down with them in the cockpit, and they lean over and they cry and they hug me and say, thank you so much for this opportunity to be here. You are such an angel. This is amazing. That is a reaffirming feeling of course I'm sad. I don't want you to leave, but I also am so grateful to bring some joy, you know, not just me. It's not just me. It's the whole organization, the Sail Beyond Cancer, providing this joy, this time of joy. And it takes months to do this. You know, it's not just let's do it. You really have to be intentional and know how to react and respond and be genuine. And, so, yeah.
Well, you certainly are one of the most genuine people I've ever met. And you have to have money to do this. So again, I'm going to encourage my viewers to get involved as you can be a volunteer, you can be on the crew. If you sail, you can talk to Suzanne about maybe sailing one of the boats. You can nominate someone to have this experience, this beautiful, wonderful experience of a 3-hour sail. And you can also help financially to support the organization. And there is a donate button on their website at sailbeyondcancer.org. So we're coming down to the end of our half hour together. And I just want to tell you that I've known you for a long time. And you are a community leader. You've been in this community doing incredible work for many years. But this is an extraordinary organization that you've created, that you've put your heart and soul into, and serving thousands and thousands of people who may know that their last moment of joy will be out in the middle of the lake sailing and feeling the wind and the breeze, and that freedom that they'll feel before they fly from this planet. So for that, and I want to tell you, I admire you and I love you, and I just think you're an extraordinary human being. And to all my viewers, so thank you for being on my show, Suzanne Johnson. I will have you back. And to my viewers out there, I want to again remind you to please don't let anybody tell you that masks do not work, because they do. And don't let anybody tell you that going to parties and hanging out with people right now with the level of COVID we have in Vermont is an okay thing to do, because it's not. And I want everybody out there to be smart, to be safe and careful. And if you don't want to do it for yourself, think about, the people that you love. And with that note, I'm going to say goodbye to my beautiful friend, Suzanne Johnson. And to you, I am going to wish you all well, ask you to stay safe and be smart, do the right thing, and we'll get through this. At the end of this, we'll all be back together on out with all of our friends, loving life again. And I love you all out there. So stay safe. And Suzanne, I love you. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye, my friend.